that route? And I guess the answer is halfway yes, right? Because this is a flex pick. Kanavi missing both. Having the ability to pilot this one, and now it's going to be about where LNG goes because Mazel, with them hovering the Cassante, so many power picks have been let through this draft.
There are, but that's because we have to see some focus, right? I think Zika's big champ has been the Jax. When you get to see him have a lot of that side lane pressure, it works so well for LNG. They are going to go with the Tristana that also was left open and a top tier pick in the LPL right now.
Yeah, like we said, I mean, Tristana, LeBlanc, Jayce, Cassante. I feel like both Varus and Xayah priorities kind of raised by the fact that we have both Rakan and Kai'Sa bans. So many things still left on the table. So with Tristana, I was wondering if they maybe just want to go for an early jungle here, but it seems like they're kind of acknowledging the, I don't know, like smaller comfort picks for Zika and just wanting to go to this one right away.
I can appreciate that as well, though, because you get that side lane pressure, but also just a lot of late game insurance if you can get to that point. Right now, that's what LNG are opting into. Right, the Tristana is very good at taking early towers, taking early presence on the map, but you really start thriving when you get to those team fights, get those resets with those item potentials. We have the Jayce locked in for Knight potentially here, and it's also that adaptation with a lot of range poke into this comp.
And now I wonder if they'll just want to match top lane here because you probably want to keep your Rell like a flex. So it's either show AD carry here, which again, you could go for something like the Varus and it would be just fine as a blind, or you answer Gwen with another top lane. I was going to say Gnar maybe on the cards is something that has a bit of range to play with, but I like that 369 is willing to go to the Kennen, bring the mixed damage in terms of the soul lanes, and still give them a lot of great team fighting, right? The synergy with Rell and the Magnet Storm, it's going to be huge.
Yeah. It's the Venn diagram of doom, it feels like. Also something that wasn't really a highlight of 369 throughout the regular season, right? Something he was able to bring out once or did want to bring out once, but it still is that lethal pick 369 has had a lot of history on.
Yes.
And I'm looking for those big flanks there as well. We did get that lock-in of the LeBlanc here for LNG, so I guess forward aggression is the name of the game.
Yes, we got Gala, actually the one piloting the Tristana. Not something you see as much. Of course, it is still put in the bot lane sometimes, but I think it makes sense with who Gala is. Just another champion that he was always willing to lean on over these last few years. And now, what a weird draft when you consider that we have not had jungle or support picked up.
We might have had jungle. Maybe. We may have a Rell jungle. Who knows? Maybe it's the LeBlanc jungle. There we go.
For JDG, I'm assuming that Rell probably ends up in the jungle. But yeah, for LNG's side, taking away some of those AD carries, so Xayah now at the table again. The other one that comes to my mind would be that Varus to accompany with the Jayce. You also then have the Chains of Corruption to really set up and then have a bit of self-heal. But maybe Ruler aiming for a different direction to where LNG, I think probably looking for jungle on 4 would be the safest bet. Had they gone a double marksman route with that Tristana, I would have guessed, hey, maybe Tarzan going to lean on something like the Ivern, not something we've seen him play in playoffs just yet, but of course we know that that pairs so well with double AD carry. But with the LeBlanc, it seems not going to go that route, and they're going to have to opt into something maybe a little bit more skirmish heavy.
I like the Lilia ban, actually. Something Kanavi has a sneaky track record on, but something I actually would find interesting as a 5th ban, just targeting that. But also that curiosity for me is that we have seen a rise in priority of support counter picks in 5, which I think is really kind of cool with the LPL because we have seen such an influence, and especially from missing and hung.
Oh, of course, right? And I mean, being able to get ahead in that 2v2 is just so crucial. I was thinking here for LNG, maybe if they'd looked for Nocturne and wanted to put some side lane pressure, maybe try to take down that Kennen, bring the LeBlanc over, but instead wanting to go with the Sejuani. This was banned consistently against them in their last series up against Weibo. So this is Tarzan finally going to get his hands on it for JDG. I'd love the Poppy lock-in. You already have the dashes coming through on all of these champions, being able to knock them away, set up for the poke that your Jayce is going to be able to offer, and really just enable JDG for some success, which does mean that this is a Rell going down towards that bot lane.
We'll see if that 100% ban presence of the Sejuani was worth it there as it makes it through, but the combo on the other side can be super crucial, right? You have the Poppy there, a lot of possibilities for the spacing of team fights, but as well as a lot of strength in the front line. We have to look what JDG is going to look at here as a final pick.
What a surprise,
still have
Mazel.
to go for
What
this
a surprise.
One. Could it be a little bit of
Oh, it is a
utility.
surprise.
Oh, the Ezreal does come through for Ruler.
So it seems like valuing more of the mobility and like kind of more tools to be able to play by yourself, not get caught out by things like the LeBlanc, the Sejuani. Like LNG are full on diving on top of you. So not going to have the same presence in the 2v2 lane that Avaris does bring to the table, but it at least means in 5v5s he'll be off, much better suited.
It is also just the Ruler champion, right? Like this is the epitome of Ruler. He literally almost has double the amount of games played on this champion comparatively to his next highest in his career on Varus, right? This guy has made this a staple of his legacy, and the fact that they're bringing it out in game number 1, I love it. He's gonna have a lot to dodge out of, a lot to be careful with. That Nautilus is going to be looking to lock him down.
And I just absolutely love when we have two completely different compositions. Again, not like two, okay, they both want to skirmish or find picks. No. I mean, it's very clear what they want to do, right? JDG, it's all about poking, disengaging, having the Poppy device spin.
Conditions under this new weight that we've seen. JDG with all the pressure on their shoulders of a dominant year so far. And LNG just trying to make up for a lot of lost time, it felt like. A lot of rebuilding efforts. Oh, I hear cheers.
Is your screen still stuck on the Game 1 champ select as well, Mazel?
Yes, but I'm in game kind of now. I see Zika and 369. They are on my screen.
Oh, well, Mazel, hey, now I'm in too. I was going to say, you're going to have to take this one solo because I did not have
my
the
screen
game.
is frozen.
Guys, this is just a day in the life of LPL.
Day in the life of remote casting.
Yeah, you get used to it. But, we'll start off just kind of taking a look. I expect a bit of a slower first few minutes. And I just want to talk about some of those expectations again. Because for JDG, it really is, again, getting that golden road. Winning everything you can within a year. They won Spring, won MSI. Able to potentially win Summer as well. Definitely one of the favorites. So for LNG, it feels like they just want to get back to an international. Spring, obviously falling short to OMG early on in playoffs. You go back to summer playoffs of last year. They missed Worlds by 1 game. Regionals, Game 5, up against RNG, sadly losing out. For them, it feels like the bar might not be as high, but hell, if you can get to that World Championship based off winning the split, that would really only be the cherry on top.
Yeah, it truly would be. I think that's something that they know in themselves. I hear minions and things. I still can't see.
You still can't.
So I apologize
here,
to the audience that I can't cast the game.
I'll break it down. So, Mazel, what's going on right now? Kanavi. Ooh, just kills the big wolf. He got it. He actually stole that big wolf away from Tarzan, but LNG, they now know the sauce. They know exactly what's going on and what's going in the pot because Hung just spotted him out. What does he know, and what's he going to do with this amount of dangerous information? I can't tell you just yet. But on the side, it seems like Tarzan doing a nice job of reading the play and using what Hung was able to get him, knowing, hey, the jungle invade came through, steal away some camps of my own. If Zika wasn't so low, they actually would even be able to go potentially for a gank in that top lane, but doesn't seem like it's going to be able to happen off that health disparity. Mazel going to have to fix those issues for a few minutes, so it's pretty sick already getting the one-on-one with chat right to the start of JDG LNG. I wouldn't have it any other way. But who probably would have something another way? Would be, again, Zika on that top side, getting pushed in so heavily. Scout at least making up for it a bit with the pressure he's putting on in mid lane with these first few levels. Not too atypical, being able to control over those first few waves. But here it is. Tarzan up towards his top side. I don't know if he was spotted by that ward. But he backed off at the perfect time, realizing, hey, it would just be a waste of time in the end. And 369 going to be able to survive just
Is that your Batman voice?
Peachy keen. Oh, you back?
Was that your bat? Was that? Tell me right now. Be real with me. Was that your Batman voice?
If we're talking about Adam West Batman, no. He actually sounds much quirkier.
All right. I do believe I'm back. My screen is very blurry, but we're going to make it work. So we do have a little bit of ships in the night action between Tarzan and Kanavi. I like what you were trying to set up, at least Tarzan visiting that top side, trying to find if he can get anything for Zika early. But I do expect more of that focus for LNG to be revolving between this mid and bot side of the map.
Yeah, that's definitely where a lot of this action is going to want to come down to. I think for JDG, not as much when you have the Ezreal. Like, sure, there'll be some gank opportunities there. You could try and get those kills, but you're going to just have consistent prio around the top half of the map. So things like when Herald spawn, I think are going to be a really big deal for JDG. So for LNG, I think playing around, stacking some early dragons and utilizing the Tristana prio would be ideal.
We get the engage here with the lollipop hook on a missing too. That explosive charge gonna do work, and missing a lot worse for wear, as Tarzan gonna decide actually not to stick around. A little bit too tanky and too much engage, at least on the bottom side, to go through that dredge line so close, but that's why Ruler is so damn good.
Again, this guy's resume really stands a test of time. Winning both LPL and LCK, winning MSI, winning Worlds. Able to do anything, which I feel like is why they had so much confidence putting him on the Ezreal, putting him on a champion that is going to struggle in terms of like getting pushed in, giving LNG a lot of opportunities around that bottom half of the map, which is why they've had so many wards. You know, those are being cleared out now, but we even just saw the benefactor of them. Scout, Kanavi just walked over one. He now knows to lean up towards the top side of that mid lane and not give any opportunities over.
We do have Scout hitting level 6, so some uptick in aggression expected here, but maybe he took the bait a little too soon. Kanavi hits him right into the wall. That's actually so beautiful. The flash comes through. Knight wants to follow it up, but Tarzan's right here, and Kanavi has to flash from the chain. Knight's in some trouble now, getting locked down. Tarzan's very tanky early. There might have been a reason why they had that 100% ban rate. 369 under some trouble with Zika in the top side. Needlework doing some work, but that Slicey Maelstrom answered nicely right back.
Yeah, it looks like Zika, the one to be the aggressor in that situation, and Slicer Maelstrom trying to dissuade.
Steadfast presence not enough, and Tarzan strikes first blood. The new jungle king rings true for LNG.
I mean, Scout being able to connect with the Ethereal Chains, really being the difference maker in that play, and now both supports. I think Missing's got to be a little bit careful. I guess both LNG members are quite low, so nothing to be able to come from it, but Ruler misses the Q.
Just going to get that explosive charge off. Ruler still playing very safe, still has a lot of survivability on the Ezreal. Here comes the supportal combat that we were expecting between Hung and Missing, but love to see that they're on the move early.
Yeah, we're going to replay of kind of the second half of this play in mid. You know, they'd already disengaged for a few moments. It allows for the cooldowns to come back up. Minion dematerializing right there. Distortion in, you land the Ethereal Chain. Doesn't matter that the W stops the initial dash. Tarzan able to follow up. So kudos to Scout, really making that play and get that kill down. So we're not stopping.
We ain't stopping, and this is what I would expect from these two teams, right? I was expecting LNG to crash themselves into JDG, find a way to up in this best of 5, because we know how good JDG are. We have seen their dominance on the international stage now. We have seen a lot of their dominance through the regular season. So it's about LNG finding every single win they can. I think having Tarzan early up and early on is great for them.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, right, they have a really solid front line. They kind of have multiple formations they can play to fight from, because you can have people like Scout or Zika looking to come off on a flank. You can kind of use Scout and Fog of War to kind of poke and prod over terrain, find those picks. But then also, like, your front to back is fine. A lot of it's going to come down to the peel tools that JDG are going to have to work off later on. Funnily enough, though, JDG, a team we usually associate with running down the enemy team. They have the highest champion kills per minute in the LPL. With the composition they've drafted, being happy for a slower game, being happy to give Ruler time to just farm up and get to these key items.
The amount of times this split, Lyric, that I've had to sit here and watch teams try to all-in Ruler and not come up with the dividends they were looking for, finding themselves on the back end of an ace because of that. I think this Ezreal will enable that style of play, and I do expect with the style LNG have, they're looking for him every single time. LNG do take the preemptive strike, though, here. They'll find that engage onto Kanavi, and he's snipped out of existence. Slicing Maelstrom a little late, but he got a response back from Knight, potentially. He doesn't get the kill, and now 369 might just go down to Tarzan. No, it's a double kill for a Scout here, and Knight needs to be very careful. He has Missing cover on the other edge, but it's not going to be enough. The lockdown from this duo, Lyric, it is monstrous, and they are just crashing straight into JDG every time. That's 202 for one of the best mid-jungle duos we have in our league.
I love the plan coming out from LNG. A Herald that they probably would have had to give it up, because 369 has consistently kept it pushing that top lane. Zika circumventing that, walk straight over to the Herald. They have numbers advantage as well, because Gala is moving up, and it sets up so well for them to be decisive on the engage, which leads them to getting the Herald. Hell, even look at their vision lines across the map. So good. But look at the minimap. Tristana and Nautilus on their way over. They already have more members here. Knight's just getting in range, but it gives this brief moment where they're able to all in on Kanavi. He gets bursted out by Scout before anything's able to even join in. And then I love that Scout keeps running 369 down going forward. And here, I get missing trying to be the ultimate bro and save his mid laner, but at that point, I think it was done and dusted.
Yeah, might need to dust himself off after that one as well. Rift Herald actually popped. It was on Zika. Went ahead and dropped it mid, run it up towards top side, but some more gold to Scout, as well as LNG taking full advantage of the pace they have and taking a dragon as well.
And look, we already have Static Shiv on Scout. Going to be able to keep up that pushing power, going to be able to poke out consistently in the mid lane. And now he's going to have so much free reign, like hover down towards that bot side. Or if you want to look to go top and punish that Kennen, which will be incredibly easy now that he doesn't have a flash. You just have so many options, I feel like, on the side of LNG. And that's what they wanted to do, right? Start getting this composition ahead early on. And I feel like partly coming down to JDG opting in to contest that Herald when they are at a numbers disadvantage, when they are trying to funnel plates on Ruler at the same time. Wanting their cake and eating it too.
Goodness, that is 4 plates in mid lane for Scout. Goodness gracious. The biggest kicker, though, is that Ruler has been stacking up at the side lane and bot side. Kanavi, though, might have found Scout yet again. Doesn't get the wall hit. The Scout able to survive that time around. We do see a lot of presence from JDG down towards bottom side to try to protect Ruler.
Realizing their win condition at this point, right? Just, again, funneling gold, slowing down the cogs of the game. I like that they have, like, a neutral vision line in top side, which is where I predict that LNG would have wanted to look with Scout to potentially set up, you know, a dive or at least a gank and really pull out more from this Kennen. And then for JDG pushing that vision line a bit more aggressive in bot side, where you're wanting to dedicate your jungler resources.
It's also important, right? Because I think when you were talking so much about Ruler on the other side and some of the advantages we've seen, I was talking about how I've seen so many teams come at him. Gala, we talked and foreshadowed the fact that this guy is starting to build a new legacy on LNG, right? He came over from a long stint on RNG. He was a big face for that team for the longest time. That's where he just kept racking up Kai'Sa pentakills left and right. But he is here to make a mark, and I love that he's whipping out the Tristana to try to take the aggression towards Ruler.
Yeah, showing he wants to be part of the team is Knight. Sidesteps!
Oh, that's really rough for Knight. I don't think you can outplay that one. He's going to get locked out. One more hit. It's not enough. Tarzan wants to follow him, and one auto attack does it. He's a tanky Poro.
I thought he was going to be able to find that kill on Scout out of nowhere. Him going for it kind of leads to his demise. Though I guess he couldn't really walk back against the Glacial Prison, or I believe he would have just been fully hit by it and would have gone down in the end. We need to remember Knight didn't have his flash in that sequence of events either. That one was blown earlier on around Rift Herald. So now only furthering this lead around mid-jungle even more.
All right, we got to look at this again.
Yep, Knight, I think, thinking Scout had recalled. Dodges out, and I love it. Accelerated Shock Blast right into the queue. Oh. Scout does flash out and dodge on it, but this leaves Tarzan. Does have to commit the flash to be able to run this one down, but it gives the opening for him to find it.
The timing of that flash as the hammer was coming down. This guy's got the moves, man. He also took down that outer tower mid lane to achieve first turret for LNG.
I will say it again. It's our first All-Pro versus our second All-Pro mid laner, who also happens to be MVP. He's going to get pinned down by Kanavi for now, but I keep on hitting. Doesn't make any sense. But it's still a hype matchup. I guess that's why it's a hype matchup, right?
There you go.
Because we pretty much have our two guys who are in contention for that MVP conversation going head-to-head. So far, Scout, though, getting better of the man who picked up the MVP at the most recent international event.
That's the craziest thing. I know we were talking about it before, but just accolades everywhere you could look.
You just can't stop listing them. There's too many of them.
Yeah, at this point. But the funniest thing, actually, between all this, we've seen such growth and change between these two teams, but there's also a track record, right? I know we were talking beforehand, and LNG don't have necessarily the best history against JDG, Lyric.
No, LNG have not beaten JDG since 2021 summer. And, you know, that was the year when JDG was an absolute mess. They didn't even make playoffs. But still, it's been a long time coming. Since the rebuild, they haven't been able to do it. But I will say, Again, with the fact that they've already gotten off to a 5-0 start, they have a 2K gold lead. If there's a time to do it, Mazel, it's today.
That's what I wanted to come back to full circle, because what a come up in a series, at least in a game one already, 14.5 minutes in. That pretty hefty lead against what would be one of our best teams and our previous MSI champions in JDG. They are never done, never out, but that lollipop might make this fight done and out. Missing in some trouble. We'll have to back away with the crash down. You got to engage from Scout, doing so much damage early with that Night Harvester already completed. 1440 in.
And we actually saw 369 was hovering around mid, I think, hoping LNG would over-aggress so they can find a fight. But that means he has to now go down and answer that wave in bot side. So Zika maybe would have had a bit more freedom. I'm surprised he didn't start moving up, you know, like 10 seconds ago when he got that wave into turret, because I feel like that would have just cemented this for LNG. Worst case, you could have even just pulled 369's TP off of him.
There's no way you don't win a fight here. Kanavi still struggling to match that item discrepancy, but the second item so early for Scout just enables LNG. Hung can't get caught, though, using his best Spider-Man impression to get out of that one. True Shot Barrage, we'll see. Rift Herald started up. JDG might want to contest here.
Yeah, we're going to see TP coming in.
That's a nice wallbang there as well. Hung is in trouble here now. Kanavi will just take him out. Scout and Tarzan say thank you for the reset of positioning as JDG have arrived in full force in front of the Rift Herald. They also got their first kill of the game.
Kanavi's so low, though, I don't think they can commit to this. It looks like they're acknowledging that. They need to back off. Missing in Ruler. Also taking a chunk as well. So LNG, they might lose one, but they're going to guarantee themselves Herald. They got TP off 369, and they managed to keep theirs on Zika. So at the end of the day, it feels like they won the macro game and kind of the map play of the situation. We're going to see here, it's really just Hung. Really wants a more aggressive vision down, ends up eating a bunch of damage from Ruler when he walked in.
This is the one that's like, rip.
Yeah, that one was a bit unfortunate. Great ult from Kanavi denying. Really, what would have been a return kill, right? Had Scout and Tarzan still been there, I think they would have definitely taken Kanavi down. But it just feels good that JDG are on the board.
You know, that in all reality, that's all that really matters. But I love to see kind of that cohesion come together for JDG, right? This is a team that we've seen functioning so well together. And now that Ruler is able to be unlocked through this mid lane, I think they're going to have a lot more of that strength in the fights. They are a team that still really wants to get set up, have these item completions, and get into team fights with 369 on big flanks. But it is LNG not wanting to let them even set their feet. And Kanavi, particularly, just gets bursted down by Gala.
And it's just going to be so easy, right? You have, I mean, so many items coming out, right? An item on Gala, and now with that even shot on Tarzan, like, amplifying the damage that his teammates are going to do. And we just saw, you know, that's setting up Gala. You have a 2-item LeBlanc down in the bot lane.
That's the craziest thing. Like, literally 14.5 minutes in, this man has 2 items, and the Night Harvester combo with LeBlanc is dirty.
Yeah, you know, use that distortion, mimic, and you get a whole ton of damage down across multiple. They're going to be able to do so much, and I feel like that's why we've been seeing LNG play their comp a lot more brawly, where, right, like they could look to set up the 1-3-1 like they're doing now. They can abuse the fact that this LeBlanc is so far ahead of the Jayce, and that Gwen's going to be able to match well into the Kennen, and maybe kind of pull the map apart a little bit, and then roam people over, try and find some flanks. But they've been a lot more willing to kind of just dive in head first, which is also what their comp can do. But it just shows the amount of a lead that they have, that they really don't need to worry all too much about the positioning of JDG.
Yeah. I will say, though, time is of the essence. Continuing to grab the early dragons, continuing to stack up as much as possible will be also important, because we were kind of alluding to some of the strengthening factors that JDG will find. LNG, though, they're going for more skirmishing. They don't want to give that red buff over. They might have just taken a little bit more, though. Gala over on the edge here, slicing Maelstrom on the backside for 369, but now he's got to retreat. You do have the TP coming in from Knight, though, and missing goes with the crash down over. Ooh. Beautiful combos coming out from JDG here. They actually are taking this one with the front to back. Zika with that needlework does separate it. Scout, the Scout gets one. Is he going to make it out? 2. Snipe out from Ruler, and it is trades. It is blood across the board. It's a 2v2.
I cannot believe that went even with the lead that LNG have had so far. I think it was, what, the True Shot Barrage and the Accelerated Shock Blast combo that did so much. I'm sure we're going to get a replay seeing it again, but my God, with the LNG found the initial pick, right? Like, they're denying the red buffs. Feel they have so much CC between a Sejuani and a Nautilus. You can see them just locking this Poppy down. And then JDG looks so split on the call, right? Ruler and Missing getting the hell out of dodge. Sure, you have some range to play, but 369 going in. It's going to be right here. Great Magnet Storm by 369, not 369, Missing into True Shot Barrage, into the Accelerate Shock Blast. And that lets JDG bring it back here. I thought Ruler was going to take him down right away, but luckily Scout with the flash gets that kill on the Knight, but it is traded back in a red buff, given over to Ruler. So kudos to Missing, setting up the big play from Ruler and Knight.
Yeah, and a big shutdown, too. Like, that was a lot of gold that Ruler just picked up. Sitting at 201, he is going to be that carry. We already talked about it way earlier in the game, but as we're LNG, yes, they have an advantage. They took a bit of a wonky fight. They'll have to continue putting it together because now this trio of JDG is going to be very terrifying from the mid lane.
And I mean, look, 40 CS up on Ruler. He's on 2 items now, so he's kind of like matching where Scout is. So it's kind of even in that sense, right? Where at least in terms of carries, you have like strong mid laner versus strong AD. The other one's a little bit lacking. Still G though ahead in other areas. Things like, you know, kind of looking at top lane, Zika being a bit closer to his next item coming through, just team having more gold shared across them. But we saw this is why LNG need to attack you from different angles. And it is a dive comp, Mazel, but you have so much peel, you have so much kite back potential from JDG that you need people like Scout or Zika really putting, you know, threat behind them.
I'm already seeing how Ruler's been playing these fights, and it terrifies me for LNG because the man is just playing so out of your bounds and unavailable to be targeted. I'm wondering how they can execute that dive. It will take a big engage from Tarzan specifically or Hung to really get the lockdown started. Again, the duality of this, yes, we're talking so much about Ruler, but LNG have the sword right now. They are in a lead. They have another dragon coming up in about 1 minute and 20 seconds, so they'll be looking to take advantages until that point and continue stacking up these neutrals.
Again, LNG, not a team that you can disrespect. They might not be favorites in today's series, but just the heights that, you know, I guess specifically 3 of these players have reached, and then the combination of just building a system around it all season long is what's led them here. It seems like both teams are kind of, funnily enough, kind of fine with the pace of the game because you have scaling elements on both sides where you have things like the Gwen, Tristana, a really tanky Sejuani that's getting items under her belt. But for JDG, it really is just going to end up being the Ruler show later on. Sure, Knight's going to be able to do a bit. I feel like Kanavi and Missing will play a bigger role like what we've seen. If their ultimates can be on point, that can just be a game changer. But I like, for now, LNG aren't even opting into it. They're still just committing to these side lane pushes and allowing the LeBlanc and the Gwen to really just try and keep JDG on their toes.
If Scout can pick apart this map on the LeBlanc, we've seen it time and time again, not only in the playoffs, but also the regular season. It can be so difficult to play around when he has so much strength in the side lane, when you just start breaking down the base while JDG are looking for these big team fights around objectives that are be coming up for them to fight around. I do like this presence for mid lane for them. They will have first push as well.
And this is where you can see the kind of contrast, right? To where JDG really playing to keep prio in mid, using the fact that Ruler has all this range and they have this 2-man core that really can play Protect the President, to where LNG realizing that they need avenues to get vision and walk into river. That's what Scout and Zika are trying to set them up for. It does lend to JDG picking up this dragon, but at least LNG have been able to retake vision on top side around this Baron.
They are everyone up here. Everyone reporting for duty. As that dragon did go over, it'll delay the stacking for LNG, and that's something JDG will absolutely love. It's still about trying to find these little moments for LNG, find the catch-outs. Scout maybe in the side lane, finding a very quick and conniving Kanavi.
You said, ooh.
It's
okay,
so
I don't think
close, man.
I don't think it's gonna come from the. Okay, I don't know.
It's so close. If they don't know.
but you said denying the stacking of the dragons, right? Another thing that's denying being stacked is the Dark Seal. Scout picked it up when he had 4 kills. Hasn't been able to pick up anything since. And I want to see value out of it. I want to see this baby get stacked up and upgraded. As they know where he is.
Come out. They got to take a trip to the library. I will also say there's been a weird trip here. Not something I've seen necessarily built all the time, but the redemption for Tarzan on Sejuani, going for that utility build here, as well as with the Even Shroud.
Yeah, right. Going towards that as his first item, I think was pretty nice when you think about how cheap it is in enabling your teammates. Is Tarzan gonna back off for now? We have a lot of weaving in and out of these
We
fights.
do. That's these comps,
But-
man, especially LNG.
I guess the point is, with how early they got ahead, I kind of like the idea of him going for a cheaper build and enabling like his huge 3-item LeBlanc so much. The problem is that progress is stalled, and now that JDG are finding their legs back into the game, now you're just going to kind of be missing out on what would have been a potentially more tanky Sejuani.
Feels like maybe the beast is starting to awaken. JDG trying to get themselves out of here, though. That steadfast presence not going to save you this time, Kanavi, but the flash definitely does. LNG find the catch out. Now they're actually pinging back onto the Baron.
Let's see if they commit to it. They decide not to. I was going to say, I mean, you have a Tristana, right? You're able to do this pretty well. The problem is you are up against a lot of poke, so you funnel into that Baron pit. If you don't have, like, Hung set up on some kind of, like, rush play to go for an engage, you would just take so much punishment as LNG.
Oh my god, Knight.
Scout's
Knight just worked right down the side lane. It's like, but I completed second item. I had something. But, you know, Scout shows up with a third. He says, you got to know who's better here.
You know, we don't have, like, crowd audio that loud in our ears, right? But, like, that play was so close from Scout, I actually heard the audience ooh and ah. Just, I mean, that pick would have been Baron, right? Small things like that can lead into such huge advantages. No, man! No!
He's just too good, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Did you expect anything less?
Oh, God, you're right. Roller just...
He's on his Ezreal.
He just knows.
The man literally has... He has over 140 games on his champ now in his career. Like, my God, that's a lot of games. But you see that he is still a legacy maker, even here on JDG, and he has been a dominant force in the LPL since his arrival.
I'll just say, it's not his world skin, though. You can build it up all you want, but it's not his world skin. His world skin got banned out.
Isn't that whole conversation is, you know, he only takes it, he only takes it when it's super serious, when he feels,
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, Xayah did get banned out this game.
Yeah, he did.
I hope we get to see it at some point, though.
We'll see. We'll see if it happens. But right now, Ruler in shot for JDG. He's the one kicking the ball down the field with that Ezreal soccer skin. Zika's looking for a flank here, though. This could be pretty big. You actually have Kanavi going straight into Tarzan. Gets the wall bang there as well. Tarzan getting locked down, but he's pretty tanky. Missing. Gets that explosive charge. The reset there for Gala. That will be a nice little reset, though, from JDG. As 369 caught out. Hung goes for the flash. The play straight onto the big engage, but doesn't matter because it's a trade back and forth, and Kanavi is still in the fight. You get some poke back from Scout. A shot for the shock blast there to Gala. And it means LNG are backing away, and this poke is starting to come alive for JDG.
And we're seeing the differences, right? LNG, one of these, like, very fast, bursty, like, quick 1-2 punch, to where JDG, they want the extended play. They want to be able to tether you on the edge of the range and just run you down. I will say, I feel like LNG could have gotten a little bit more there. Zika, had he focused missing instead of Kanavi, I think would have gotten that kill, but I understand it, right? I feel like you're trying to burst his Poppy out before the ulti comes through and eats you out of the fight. As we have a replay, but I don't care about this replay because a Baron is going on right now, which feels significantly more important than what we've seen.
That Glacial Prison going wide is actually pretty big. JDG are here. Baron is already gone, though. True Shot Barrage going to miss, and LNG make out like bandits.
Just playing off of a reset timing that JDG went with after that fight. So now Baron going to be online. Sure, JDG, you're going to get your second Chemtech Dragon, but I don't think LNG are going to care. LNG's goal now, try and break open this base and have yourself in a position to honestly end the game within the next few minutes.
There is nobody to deal with the side lane right now either. That second tier tower went down to Zika, so we'll be able to pick up that extra gold, and the Gwen is starting to stack up. And honestly, now I'm looking back at the draft, and yes, hindsight 2020, but man, this Gwen pick is actually becoming so crucial here. You're going to be stacking up so much. The rest of your team is what's been punching down JDG early, but that Gwen is going to be so crucial in the bed team fights JDG want later on.
And that's why I was speculating that JDG would have put more pressure towards top as compared to bot, where they have an Ezreal. It's like, get the Kennen ahead, sit the Gwen behind, but none of that really came out. I mean, hell, JDG didn't find anything early, and now it's allowing LNG to just keep going with this siege, and they're just going to run it in.
That explosive charge is, the tower's already gone. This Baron buff, they're trying to get the resets here. One Kraken Slayer auto to missing almost goes down. That will be LNG making out with that inhib. They did trade the side tier 2, but that is easy does it, as now they're actually looking at top side as well.
I love that Scout mimicked the chain in that last engage to force Knight to have to use the flash. And now Scout, does he have enough money for the death cap? Actually cancels his recall because I expect us to have a huge ejection of gold, right? Bloodthirster just finished off for Gala, so he's going to be, a decent amount stronger, put off that damage. But if the death cap comes out for Scout, I really feel like it's going to be the nail in the coffin. Which, sure, there are 2 Maz on the side of JDG, but it just doesn't feel like
bada
enough.
bing, bada boom. I think the Reaper has arrived onto the Rift here, Lyric, as that Rabadon's completed. He also has that Sorcery Elixir in tow, realizing there could just be one more fell swoop in the life of JDG if they get a big fight.
You know, this is only game 1. I don't want to overreact, but I actually do want to overreact. We always have like one really crazy result in playoffs. And I mean, like NIP winning a bit weird, EDG beating OMG a bit weird. But like, can you imagine if JDG lose here? It would just fit. It would just be the crazy LPL result you get is, like you said, Scout, the Reaper right in front of them. He's looking for it.
Every time we have these long buys, there's always a team that falters off the buy. It's incredible how many times it happens. But we'll see if JDG can wake up into this one. They have taken a very scaling comp, very teamfight heavy comp. We'll see if they can get there as they are already on death's door. It's the Reaper Scout on the top side of this fight, just looking to poke with the static shiv as much as possible. They've got super minions pushing in mid lane, so this siege can just be continuous for LNG.
And I love that Scout's also guiding in the wave, hitting these minions and opening up an avenue for LNG to play a bit more aggressive in bot side. It's going to pull 369's attention for now, also give Scout like a leaning upward presence in the map. He's actually going to look to threaten. He's just going to look to threaten Nexus Towers.
Oh my god. They go for the engage though. Ruler has completed a little bit more of his build, but it's not enough because Gala's already taken out Kanavi. True shot barrage across missing. Going to be taken out with a snip as well, and 2 kills go to Gala. He's making his name known in this one with that buster shot away. 369 taken out too. And LNG, they found blood in game 1. They say Titans can go down. And Gala wants to make it known that Ruler, even on the comfort of Ezreal, won't find promise here in game 1 of the series. This should be the final Nexus Towers going down. Zika, Scout, and Gala, they have been incredible in this game 1, and they'll put the finishing touches.
That buster shot on 369 was so good coming out from Gala, enabling them and just allowing them, hey, no shenanigans are coming out. We are ending this game right now. And what a huge win for LNG.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'll own it. I predicted a JDG 3-0. And I feel like that was a very common sentiment throughout a lot of the community.